Well, hey everybody, Wes McDonald here, and this is kind of unusual because today we're doing our top 100 session live, and you can see a bunch of folks on the screen here, which I'm going to introduce without further ado. We just released the top 100 list for 2022. It's literally hot off the presses, less than a week ago. And this group that you see on the screen here are some of the top 100 members that I've had the pleasure of being able to spend time with every week since we started this thing the first time. And you'll notice that there's quite a few people in here. I didn't really leave anyone with an excuse not to be here because this is the same time that we do the top 100 meeting every week. And the only difference today being that it's live and it's recorded. And usually it's never recorded and it's never live because we do try and make sure that we have a free forum for everyone to be able to speak into freely. So I'm going to take you right into a meeting as if it was a normal week. And the first thing that we do every week, what do I ask for? Anyone?
Win for the week.
Absolutely. So let's go through the wins for the week. And Dan, let's start with you.
I'd say in the past week to 2 weeks, we've been called back as a finalist for a couple massive opportunities. We've had the pleasure of working with a partner that has really gone above and beyond to help us in those opportunities get to where we need to go. So
I love
happy about the partnership.
Well, I can't wait to see which one of those names comes up on top with you there, buddy. So congrats.
Appreciate it.
And Rob Farrell, what about you? What's your win of the week?
Yeah, it's interesting. Similar to Dan, I was thinking about two very recent meetings with actually existing clients that have been around for a while, and they've got teams coming back to their offices, and they're working on hybrid plans and software plans and all that kind of stuff. So my team's been highly engaged in that and driving the ball forward. It's pretty exciting to see things start to move again.
Well, I love to hear it. That's a good win, my friend. And Mr. Shell, what about you?
West, yesterday was my wife's and I anniversary, which was a big win for the week. On the personal side. On the professional side, I'm just feeling very positive. I know that everyone knows that Q3 is coming to a head here, and we're entering Q4. And I'm just feeling bullish and positive, not just in my own stuff, but just company-wide. So that's my win of the week.
Well, I love it. Congratulations. And for all of our viewers today out there, do you have a win of the week? You can leave them in the comments. And today we'd love to be able to show your win of the week on the show here today as well. So please feel free to leave them if you have them. Any questions or comments that you have during the show, please leave them. We did have our first one. Nice to see Wes McCarter, who was also another top 100 member who couldn't be here today, saying they're glad to see all the great folks on the call and could only be made better if you were here in person and live today too, brother. All right. So Eric Crump, what about you? What's your win of the week?
Well, like you always know, I'm going to talk about Young Marines just for a little bit. Young Marines is a program that I volunteer with here in our local community, and really just have a great network of sponsors and thought leaders here that really help me out to raise funds so we can do the things we do locally. So really excited about we doubled our donations this week. So unexpectedly. So that's a lot of big news for our organization. Work-wise, we're busy. It's funny with MPSA, we talked about RFPs and RFIs and how to get ahead of all that. And so we've been busy with that this week, talking with a couple of partners on some big opportunities as well. So unfortunately, maybe we didn't. Some people didn't take that advice that we put in our white paper, but a little bit more hard work to go there. But it's been a busy week with talking to multiple partners, so it's just been good.
Well, I love to hear it, and I really appreciate all the work that you do for the Young Marines and volunteering in general, right? So with me on the exec at the MPSA, certainly, and just really nice to hear that. I love that that's the win. And Greg Walters, what about you, sir? You're still in your parents' basement, so the win of the
week. Nowhere to go but up from there, huh? Wow. No, let's see. 2 wins, I think. I've put together a little show. I've got, I believe, 11 guests scheduled between now and middle December. So that's pretty cool. Everyone from West, some guys from Rico, HP, all over the place going to come in, and we'll have a little fireside chat, as it were. And then another success or a good, this project I'm working on with another company is taking a lot of, we're making great strides, but we did launch from nothing. So we're starting something from scratch. Haven't got the press release out yet, but that should be coming. Inches are better than nothing, but we're moving. We're going to make it look really good. Other than that, this is a success. I like the fact that, what is it, a year? Is that how that?
That's right.
This?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
So,
crazy.
Yeah, it is nuts. So this is a win for this week, this session.
Well, I appreciate that, and I love seeing the fact that you're, going to be starting to do your live stream. And I always enjoy. I'm a guilt guest, right? I got a request from you right away, going, Wes, do you want to be on my podcast? Because you've had me on twice. No, I'm only kidding. Absolutely thrilled to see it, and I love encourage anyone watching, and certainly anyone on this call, that live streaming is important. We get to have a lot of great conversations like the one that we're having, that we have privately every week, but certainly live streaming is a great way to do that. And for all of our viewers out there, if you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them here. We'll make sure that we, get them up as we move through this today. And so, Chip, what was your win for the week, my friend?
We had 2 nice size IT deals we took down net new this week. That area is growing very well for us right now. So very glad we're in it.
Yeah, that's great. And I really love hearing, these wins when we talk through that. There are so many now that are happening, which are on the technology side of the house, right? So certainly, you have done an amazing job of moving Pulse in that direction. And it's just fun to hear that those wins are there, right? Because I think one of the things that we heard early on when we started thinking about getting into technology, people said, oh, nobody will ever buy from us. We're office equipment dealers, right? So
Oh, we did it for free for years.
Yeah.
Now we're charging.
Yeah, it's like our techs have been doing it for years, but yeah, now we actually make money. I love it. And Art Post, what about you, my friend? Your win for the week?
Hey, fine. I got a few finally back at BTA, which is awfully exciting. Got to meet 25 new vendors. Second, I've been speaking about my content opportunity for about $500,000. We've moved that another step closer that I think we're going to get. We could get that order sometime before the end of the year. So wow. That's great, moving in the right position for us. And then thirdly, I actually spoke to Greg about this yesterday. I'm coming out with a series where we're going to have an office trivia event online. We're going to have 2 dealer teams, and we're going to play for a winner, but both the winner and a loser will get money for their charity of choice. I actually think that's going to be a tremendous amount of fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that sounds like a lot of fun. And I can't wait to get involved with that myself. And certainly I like your one win for the week, the BTA meeting last week. It was great. We actually got to spend quite a bit of time together. And we had dinner twice together, which I don't think that's ever happened. So,
no.
Yeah, so there's my win for the week. Dinner twice at one event with Art Post.
Awesome.
And Rick Lambert, what's your win for the week?
Hey, buddy, I have a couple wins. I just want to say thank you to you folks, Tiger Paw, for doing that T100 list. I just was proud to be on there, and so much talent. And there's a lot of talent that obviously, may not have been on there, but thank you guys for doing that. So a couple wins. I just echo what Carl said, and Chip had mentioned, we're touching about 150 dealers now from a sales or marketing standpoint, and we're feeling real bullish about the fall. Like Q4, as you guys know, 80% SMBs have their fiscal year end December 31, so they're shopping right now. We had just in the last, I would say, 7 business days, we've been running webinars on security, IT services, and managed print, and we're catching fish on all 3 of those webinars. So if you're watching now and you're thinking, webinars are outdated or people still into managed print or whatever, we're just seeing that real active. And lastly, I recorded this morning a TEDx speaker for my podcast, This Marketing Show, and the guy was talking about the Great Resignation, right, which is a problem for a lot of our clients. And he was just doubling down on how we really got to get curious about our people at the individual level and understand, a lot of them are quitting quietly and things like that. And it was just a real good reminder message that we got to get one-on-one with our people and really understand like what's important to them beyond compensation, all those great things.
Yeah, we really do, right? And people are the difference, and that's one thing I've enjoyed. I actually got to see Chip speak at an event on sort of hiring and retention. We had Joel Vaslow from Tiger Paw come in and speak on it. We also had somebody come in from Great America to speak on it, all through the top 100 sessions. And, it's a big topic, but, many times I've heard people say the win of the week was getting people, right? And that's always thrilling. Carl, that you've shared that. Dan, you've shared it.
In a lot of ways, that was my win of the year. I've hired 5 people this year, and it was pretty easy to get all 5 of them, and they're all very talented, and mostly from outside of the industry. So that was, big wins across the board. Totally agree.
Yeah. And I just noticed that let's see here in the comment section, we've actually got a comment from Dennis Drini. Great to see all the gentlemen on the live stream. Congrats. And Dennis, by the way, is a new member in the top 100 list. So Dennis, congrats to you from all of us. We do these
Awesome.
every week, and we hope that we'll see you, in on some of these calls, right? And speaking of, members, like, it's funny, Greg Walters, it was you that actually said to me when we did the promotion for it, you're like, dude, like, why is it all old white men that are the only guests on the show, right? And we had a laugh about that in one of the things. And the truth is, for everyone out there, believe me, we're not just a group of old white men. I'm going to share some stuff here.
I didn't say old white. You added that.
That might have been my embellishment.
You embellished it. I said, hey, where are all the chicks at?
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. That was my embellishment for sure. And just to let everyone out there in the world know, we have a lot. We have a lot of female members, and I'm going to show everyone the list in just a minute, right? That this is made up of a lot of the top minds in the industry that unfortunately just had other things that they had to do. And a big thanks, obviously, to Laura for, sharing this so that, people understand what her feelings are on the meetings that we have every week. She said it's one of her favorite hours of the week, besides being able to be with such a unique and esteemed group of colleagues. I love the dialogue. West questions are best part of our week, but also the thought-provoking questions and topics. Truly a great way to gauge what's happening in our industry and what the future might hold. So that was so kind of her to share that. Another great member. One of the things that really excited me about the group was getting some perspective from outside of what we traditionally think of as our channel, right? From the consumer side of print. And Valerie Aldhaman's been an absolute asset helping us understand that, because obviously with work from home, there's so many people that are using these things that we thought previously were just home devices. And if you're working from home, I guess that's an office device, right? The T100 meetups are one of the most valuable hours of the week. Great range of voices in the group, from manufacturers to dealer partners and analysts. Love being able to chat with peers, learn about industry challenges and opportunities, and share insights. West also does a fantastic job at recapping each and every meeting. But of course, you get so much out of it when you go. And that's a good point for everyone that's tuned in today. I try to recap every week. I think there was only one that was so hot. Do you guys remember that? I sent the email out and said, no recap this week. It was a good one. And that's one thing I enjoy about being able to have these kind of sessions together that aren't formal, that are just people getting together, is we can talk about stuff pretty hard, right? Oh, and I did have one from Tanya Ross here, but apparently I just have 2 up from Laura Blackmer right now. And I'm going to show one other thing here. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. For everyone that's interested, you can actually visit tigerpaw.com and you can get a look at the top 100 influencers. So you'll see some of the names here. This does take a lot of work, and as a lot of people realize, that the way that this is done is looking at a variety of metrics. Someone online actually, pointed out that there's probably some merit in belonging to an organization like the MPSA and the BTA and CompTIA, and I would give that a resounding yes. So volunteerism is certainly a big part of what gets people, kind of on the list. And for all the work that everyone does to do more, for the channel, not just, for individual companies, right? So cannot say enough, thanks for everyone for doing that, right? And my official win for the week, I know I said it was, dinner with Art twice, but it really has been this year that I've got to spend with everyone in this call and the other members that, join in. our policy always been, it's like, come when you can. If you can come every week, that's great. If you can only come once a quarter, that's great too. If it's once every 6 months, that's great too. Come as often as you can, but come curious and come willing to deliver some learning for, the other members, right? And it's certainly for me been, well, I call it my, favorite hour of the week, right? Because when else would I be able to get to spend time with so many different people that are leaders in the space? So I can't thank, any of you guys enough, right? Oh, did you get a comment from Dennis there? Spot on, Rick. Get to know all your people at the individual level. You'll find hidden gemstones and quality that no one has been able to get out of them before. So shout out to Rick Lambert. And we also
sounds like a great guy there, that guy there. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely belongs on the list after that kind of kudos, right? And great idea. All right. So remember, folks, if you are tuned in, this is a live session that we're doing today, which is a little unusual because these are usually private and unrecorded. But you get to tune in and see what we talk about, kind of every week. You got your own things to mention? Come on in. You're part of the top 100 today, right? And it's probably a good segue. Actually, I'll save that for later, but you are part of the top 100 today. So join the conversation. Any of your questions or comments, we would love to, see them and be able to have you, join the conversation. And, I say this is my favorite out of the week, right? And I see everyone here quite often. Maybe what I'll ask is, we saw a couple, from Laura and from Valerie on what they kind of get out of it, but maybe we can, share some of the things that you get out of it. And maybe Rob, I'll ask you, what's it been like for the year for you? What kind of things do you get out of this?
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite hours of the week when we all connect. I'd say it's really a community that's been built here that you've done a great job with, Wes. And I think that, bit of a peer group where we can really share things or learn from that group. So as an example, if something's happening in your business, or you're looking at a pivot that you want to, dig into and see if it's the right thing for your business in a direction to move in, I can guarantee you that someone in that group that week has some experience in that. So, I just find it for, future strategy of the business, what's going on, in our space and outside of our space, there's tons of valuable information.
Well, I appreciate that. And that's one thing I love about it too, is that it's a free place for us to have those conversations, right? It's not about competition or anything else, because, the only things, even in the recaps, and I think everyone can attest to this, right? We never share anything that, is either sensitive or private or whatever. General highlights, if we're talking about things, we'll share those with the group, but this is a safe place, right, to be able to have those conversations. And I've enjoyed actually hearing from people that actually have emailed me at different times saying, "Hey, Wes, really glad, that we had this today, because now I'm connected with so-and-so and here's what we're doing," right? Like, just, warms my heart. And
Wes, just to piggyback off of Rob, not only is it fun to see everybody that joins weekly, but outside of these scheduled events, I reached out to a number of people just to pick their brain, ask questions like, are you dealing with some of the same issues that we're dealing with? Are you seeing the same opportunities we're seeing? What are some of the new ventures that you're tackling? So just from a people perspective, having peers to reach out to connect with is huge. So thank you for organizing this, Wes.
Oh, no, absolutely. And for me, it's like, how often do we get to have, independent dealers, mega dealers, analysts, OEMs, marketing specialists, all on the same call together, right? With no agenda. It's just like, glad we're here this week together. Let's, see what kind of unfolds, right? So appreciate that, brother. And what about you, Carl? What kind of, stuff have you gotten out of it over the last?
I just heard some really good stuff that I'll kind of piggyback off of. First of all, totally agree about the safe place. Here at Keypoint Intelligence and in the group that I manage specifically, we're constantly talking about creating safe havens for collaboration, if you will. And that's very much what this is. On the collaborative front, I've had the opportunity to West, I was on one of your live streams earlier this year. Rick, I was on your Smarketing show. I've worked with Art. I worked with Greg Walters. I've worked with Laura Blackmer this year. So as a writer, and I think you all know that about me, I'm a writer who likes IT and dealers. It's been a really the best networking that I've ever had in this industry. It beats going to even a show and hooking up with someone and, okay, let's do a podcast or anything. It's just, I guess to Dan's point, a safe place. You can just kind of reach out to people and talk. And I think that's ultimately what we want. We just want to hear what other people have to say, open our ears and learn.
Well, I really appreciate that. And it has been an absolute, blessing to be able to have that place. And I'm glad that everyone feels that it has been that way, right? And looks like we had Wes McCarty, couldn't be here today, but he did jump in, another top 100 member. And he says that he enjoys everyone's insights and helpfulness. Such a great way to spend an hour. So I really appreciate that, brother. The other thing I'm going to throw up here quickly is for those that are looking to get their hands on the list, this will be in the comment section. So the link is actually live if you click on it. And for those that are not watching it live, you can still go into the comment section and find that and be able to click on that. And of course, anyone that wants to reach out to me or anyone else directly that's on the list, we're on it. We can probably help you get it. So there it is. TigerPod.com, 2022 MPS Top 100 Channel Influencers. And also, if you just go to TigerPod.com and hit blog, you'll see the the posting there as well. So remember, folks, for anyone that is joining in, we talk about a lot of things. What we love about the hour, we would certainly appreciate your comments, any comments that you might have, and you can certainly leave them with us today. So join the conversation. And maybe I'll jump to you, Rick. What kind of things do you get out of this hour?
So, I've been a spotty player, but the ones I've shown up to, I think are excellent. First, when I'm not there, your summaries, I always, email you back, and I find that great. I like the, you make them fun, by the way, which is always important for me. I like the way you bring in topics, and then, we as a group or whatever would kind of pull it apart after the presentation portion or whatever it is. And you get to kind of stress test the topic. And I don't think there's any, walls up or whatever. And I just think the people you have on, the ones I've been on and today, like, they're all well recognized, well respected. Wes McCarter, for example, like, I don't know if you could meet a better guy that runs a company, a great company in the industry. So I think you just got really good people. And, we all deal with different types of people, and it's nice to be in a group with people that get it and are genuinely, I think, focused on helping each other as opposed to, being all about me. So that's, I think, what you've created, and I really appreciate.
Oh, I appreciate you being part of it. And that really is, one of the, the greatest ambitions of the project is that it's a lot of very smart people here that can help each other and then help the industry overall, right? And the number of ideas that I get from it, I love soaking them up. And Rick, I thank you, obviously, for one of the marketing ideas you had for thanking some of the top 100 members, right? Those kind of ideas, those clicks, those, things that we do. And I really appreciate you being part of the group.
I had another idea that we don't seem to be using. And I said, if we can just say Dan Larkin's name for a point on this thing. But that doesn't seem to have rolled well, Dan. But anyway.
Oh, I forgot about it. Dan Larkin. You know what? Dan's going to get his own banner. Hold on.
Yeah.
Dan Larkin's in the house. Got your own banner now. Oh, that's funny. And for everyone else out there, make sure you join the conversation. You can say Dan Larkin. You can say anything that you'd like to say, as long as somewhere along the line you say Dan Larkin. There you go.
All right.
All right. And Dan Larkin, Eric Crump, what do you get out of this?
Well, one thing that's been pretty interesting for me is that this group spans multiple groups that I'm part of. And so it's the more we spend time with each other in these different groups and then come kind of back here, it's a richer experience. So Chip and I are part of the MPSA Insiders Group, which has been good. We have a select set of certified members that are in that group. So it's very similar to this kind of discussion where it's more focused on independent dealers. And then also I'm working with other global organizations like IMPSA that's mostly based out of Europe, and been able to connect dealers within that organization for sharing, but also opportunities to work together on global deals. So it's been exciting to be able to be in multiple groups with different people and to try to drive business wherever they're at.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny, I oftentimes, people will ask me what organization should I join, as if like you have to make one choice, right? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I belong to the BTA, to the MPSA, and to CompTIA. And certainly this, peer group has been amazing for me, right? Because, there's so much learning to be had out there and so much that we can do to, better our businesses, right? So love it. And here we go. Another top 100 member, Sarah Henderson. Hello, friends. And hello to you, Sarah. We actually had a quick little chat this morning. She's out closing some big deals, and crossing my fingers for you, Sarah, on a couple of those as well. But she's knocking it out of the park. So good to see you there, lady, and sorry you can be here in person. I did, however, find what I was looking for. Look at me. I can actually do this here. Let's see if I can get it. Quote from Tanya, because I'm going to show it.
There we go.
So, Tanya Stone, participating in the top 100 meetings have been a highlight of my week for the last year. Give me an opportunity to connect with industry leaders about relevant topics and get to know some really great people on a personal level. It's wonderful to spend time with some of the most brilliant minds and learn that the challenges we're facing are something we can tackle as a group and learn from each other. And I love her final point there, and have some fun along the way. Because I think we do have some fun. And that's one of those things that, Dan Larkin, we generally try and make sure, we're enjoying ourselves as much as we can, Dan Larkin. All right. And remember, folks, if you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to leave them in the comments section. If you're watching on LinkedIn, we're broadcasting live right now on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So whichever platform you're on, you can go ahead and leave that. Make sure you do leave your questions and comments here. Again, if you want to get a copy of the top 100 list, just head over to tigerpaw.com, hit the blog. It's right there to download and see who made the list. All right. I'm going to move on to another question. And actually, I should point this out for people that typically we don't provide any set questions. Like there's no set agenda unless we've had a meeting where we decide that we want to bring in a certain kind of expert, right? So in one session, we actually had Blair Dawson come in, who was a lawyer, to be able to talk about the legal ramifications and what to do after a cyber attack. We've had Joel Vaslow at TigerPaw come in and speak about some of his hiring and retention experience to be able to help us, sort of navigate this. So we do have some days where it's a little more, planned, but typically we never have any questions. Today's actually the first day I prepared any questions, really, because I do prefer that free flow, forum, right? And Larkin, is there a story in particular that you'd like to share from the meetings that might have sparked a new idea or inspired you? And this actually happens to me all the time. There's one person who's on the call today who did share a story with me about someone that they connected with, but just going to throw it out there for anyone that wants to answer. Is there a particular thing where he said, you know what, if we hadn't had these meetings, then this wouldn't have happened? And I'll just throw it out there. I'm not going to ask each and every one of you for one.
Yeah, I've got something, West, and but first of all, I'm not going to play that Dan Larkin game. I guess I did. But, sorry.
Are we up to 12
I would
yet?
say, it was probably 3 weeks ago, I think, on the call, and this is maybe not sparking an idea, but enabling something where we're working on strategy, looking at our future year, and we're working on budgeting and planning and all that kind of stuff. And because we've got so many people in different regions, I was able to put a question out there like, what is everybody seeing from, print volume coming back, and what percentages are you at? And we were able to kind of nail it down to areas in the United States that have been open for a while and get some percentages nailed down, which really helped me doing some planning for the business, which is kind of cool. So I think that speaks to the vastness of the group as well. Like, you get a great group of people here. So
yeah, and actually, I got a quote up there from Joel, but someone else was going to kick in, so I'll let you do it. Go ahead. No, I was wrong. It was just someone saying Dan Larkin. So Joel Vaslow kicked in with thanks for continuing to plug my great resignation content. I love talking about recruiting and retention topics. Great to see you, Mr. Vaslow. And Greg Gumpright, someone should tally up the years of experience on these calls. Such a great group of educated industry professionals. And Greg, great to see you here, and really appreciate you being part of this.
Wes, one of the ideas that came out of one of these calls, I think Mark Hart had talked about EV chargers with ACDI, and that was one that I think caught a lot of people's got their attention and probably caught them off guard. So that I think a lot of people went back to the drawing board to figure out if that was a viable solution or not.
Well, yeah, and the cool thing about that one is that, you know, we think we know what we should be doing, right? And, you know, it was Wayne Gretzky who said, "Don't go where the puck is, go where it's going to be," right? And, you know, I know that we've all been scrambling to, you know, figure out how to diversify our businesses. And one of the cool things on these calls is that I've seen examples that I would have never dreamed of like that. Like, well, what's an EV charger got to do with, you know, the Office Equipment Channel? And the answer
Who cares?
is, yeah, well, that's one great answer. Who cares? But the second part is there's adjacencies, right? Like they're things that need to be sold, they need to be installed, they need to be maintained, right? And they have this lovely consumable called electricity. So it's those kind of things that twist my head around going, wow, you know, sometimes the thing that is more adjacent to what we do for a living. And honestly, without these calls, I would have never thought about that. If I would have just heard about that in passing without actually listening to kind of the logic behind it, I would have been like, wow, maybe that's crazy, but what a great idea, right? And Chip, I know that one thing that's always inspired me, I share this all the time, is the work you're doing with, you know, the internal LED panels, the display technologies, right? Again, another great adjacency, another technology that people in the office need. They're things. Those things are going to break. They're going to need maintenance. They're going to, you know, need a bunch of things, right? So yeah, really cool. Thanks, Dan. And anyone else? What any particular thing that sort of came out of it? You were like, yeah, that was a definite win for me, or definitely something that sparked a movement.
Honestly, I think it's every week. I walk away and I might not contact someone every week. I certainly don't have the kind of time to produce something every week like that. I wish I did. But I always walk away from these meetings thinking about something, whether or not it's just open forum or it's a dedicated topic like supply chain that we were talking about a lot beginning of these meetings last year. And then, you know, the organized sessions, the structured sessions, I would say, with a special guest, whether it's Blair, you know, Joel's resonated quite a bit with me. I didn't know that I would have to hire 5 people this year. So it was, you know, ahead of the curve for me, but it was very interesting because the management portion of my position is still very interesting, maybe not as much as the writing or the podcasting stuff, but just tend to walk away with ideas and shoot, I gotta do something with this person, you know?
Yeah. And I've had one of those myself, and I know there's a person who's on the call, so I won't name them. But it did have to do with a big deal that they were working on that was in the government world. And, you know, it spawned a relationship to be able to work together on, you know, on that deal. Right. And it's those kind of things that I love about these kind of sessions. I'm going to move on now, and we're going to talk about hiring and retention and supply chain. I think one of the things that I really appreciate about this is a lot of people accuse our channel of, you know, kind of being sleepy or, you know, outdated or anything else. We're not, you know, we have our head in the sand. And I'm telling you, the conversations and the work that we've done together, I couldn't think anything is further from the truth, right? So when we look at our world, when it comes to business diversification, doing more than print, right? Hiring and retention, supply chain challenges, all of these things have been, you know, big topics, right? So what I'm wondering is, a year in, are we seeing any improvements on, you know, some of these areas? So if it's supply chain, hiring, retention, you know, are we seeing some improvement in these areas? And maybe I'll talk with someone like, if you obviously deal with a lot of supply chain, you know, stuff as does Dan Larkin, because you're selling to the public. Are we seeing any improvements on that side? Chip, I'll let you take it.
Well, I've been fortunate because I carry the Sharp product, and they've been really on top of it. In fact, I'm always proactive, so our orders were put in to finish off our year, and everything came in the other day. So my warehouses are packed right now.
Wow.
On the other hand, some of the other products that I do carry, they are still struggling out there. And what I don't understand is why we can't get an ETA on when the products are going to be available to us. I find having conversations with Sharp, the president of Sharp, Mike, he knows exactly where everything is and where everything's coming in from. I don't understand why some of our other vendors don't have that insight.
Yeah, and that's one of the, for everyone watching, that's what we talk about, right? It's like those kind of things. And I know that Sharp's been good to you. We've spoke with some other folks that have had very challenging, times with their supply chain stuff, right? And I know some have actually mentioned that they've seen some providers actually go to business because they couldn't get stuff, right? They were so dependent on one, supply chain, right? So really glad to hear that, on the Sharp side that you've had some really good experience. And Dan, what about you? You do obviously a lot of multi-line stuff. How's it going out there?
It's a mixed bag, like Chip said, but I think we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel this fall.
I hope so. And Rob, what about you in Canada? We've got a slightly different marketplace up north of the border.
Yeah, we do. It's a little bit hit and miss, and with our mainline sort of copier vendor, it's actually Canon. They've been unbelievable at making sure they get product on time and giving us timelines. And then we struggled in other areas, and I keep hearing from HP and Lexmark and other partners of ours that they're going to see sort of Q3 calendar year, Q1. We'll start seeing things get cleaned up. Hopefully, it sounds like it's coming, but it's definitely, man, that can really make your business run around in circles, right? When half of your people are just trying to find hardware to implement for clients.
I talked with a sales rep this morning who's got over $1 million in sold goods that haven't been delivered yet, right?
Yeah.
That's tough, like as a sales rep, because most sales reps don't get paid until delivery, right? So
Right.
that's kind of a concern. I had another conversation, another live stream this morning, and the guest was actually talking about the fact that they haven't had any trouble, sort of procuring a lot of their A3 stuff, but the A4 side's been hard, right? So is that a general thing? Is it harder to get, hold of A4 versus A3 right now?
A4 is lost in the sauce. A3 gotten much better. A4, nothing. Well, I'm not hearing of anything till end of first quarter, second quarter of 2023. It's horrible.
Wow.
Well, what struck me about this is weird is like, why? Because is it just like, the manufacturers of Flex better, or it's just weird?
Because people can't have copiers in their homes.
Well, I guess that's true. There's a lot more competition for.
I think you're gonna find A4 is the product of the future, anyways. More and more people aren't getting off their desk, even if they're working in an office. They want the scanning, they want the printing, all that in front of them. They don't want to go mill around a copier anymore or a water machine like they used to because of COVID. I think they don't want to catch the flu. They don't want to catch COVID. So if I got to work in an office, I'm staying in my cubicle. Give me the tools I need to work from there. So I think A4. I know it's a struggle for everybody to get that product right now, but I think that's the future.
Wow, what an interesting perspective. It's not just people using A4 at home, but like you said, changing working habits in the office after the pandemic as well. Wow.
But look to the manufacturers, because the manufacturers are putting their resources and their chips into the higher revenue boxes, which are the A3.
Right.
Interesting. Okay, so chip shortage, you put them where the money is. So it's not a reflection.
Revenue, where the revenue is. And of course, on the A3 boxes, the profit margins are higher on a higher revenue sale than a lower A4.
Yeah, wow. You're looking at about a $600 to $1,000 swing. Why wouldn't you do that?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
The president of Sharp came out and said, "Hey, we're not going to make any A4s until next year because we're putting all our chips where our money's at." And with all the cost of freight and everything going on, you can't complain about that. I mean, that's the way it is. We have been taking the standalone A4 machines and replacing them with A3 machines because that's what we have.
Wow. It's scarcity. I love that. It actually makes sense to me now, right? Because when you look at, let's say I only had, 2 glasses of water, and that was my, the only water I was going to have for a month. And they said, "What do you want to do with it? Drink it? And we're going to charge you to be able to drink that water? Or water your flowers, and we won't charge you for that." Well, of course, you're going to pay for the drinking water, right? It's that scarcity. you can kind of you get what the market demands for it, right? Wow, that's great. Really appreciate that. And any other insights from anyone else that they've seen?
Yeah, just from our perspective, so we're running a lot of the marketing messages for a lot of, we'll call it traditional copier dealers right up to IT resellers, and just the messaging, we've had to pull back on traditional, copier messaging. They want us to shift over to more services. From a sales enablement standpoint, we actually built a program when COVID hit called Selling A4 to Win. I thought it would be a hit because people could go and displace in their non accounts, kind of as a displacement strategy. And I don't think the dealers in general are there yet to move to A4 for all the reasons you guys said. And the other thing that, to your last question, one of the things that this forum's provided for me is a connection with like a guy like Chip Maselli, who I think is a real humble visionary in the market. And, we were able to engage with those guys around, getting their people up and water skiing on LinkedIn. I mean, there's just things are changing. And I think a lot of dealers we talk to still want to go back to what they call the normal, but I don't think the old normal's coming back. And I don't mean to brush people the wrong way, but this is a new game. It's a similar moves, but it's on a different surface. And I think we got to be wise and go to where the puck's going, like you said, Wes, and not where it is.
Yeah, I thought you might like that reference because for those that don't know, Rick used to play a lot of hockey and probably still plays a little shinny, right?
I have, a couple teeth missing. I can show off offline and the scars to prove it. But anyway, I'm open to challenges regardless of my penalty minutes that I have. So I'm always open to that, even from a guy like what's his name, Dan Larkin.
Oh, that's right.
Just kidding.
And Joel Vaslow has a question for Dan Larkin. What trends, changes have you seen in hiring? And of course, that's for everybody, right? What kinds of things have you seen that are different? And this might actually be kind of an interesting one, for you, Carl, to jump at. You said you hired 5 people, right? So what are you seeing? What's different?
I wish I had a lot to compare against and give you a good answer here, because I've hired 5 people this year, but I did not do a lot of hiring the previous few years. I had a lot of consistency in the group. I had a maternity leave here. She came back. I had this person gone, whatever it was, we moved this person to another. So I'm probably not the best person to answer the question in terms of trends. What I've seen is more like a personal growth in how I go about looking for someone. There are times where, if I'm looking for a writer, that's me. If I was looking for an artist, I would bring in people from our art department. And whether or not it was collaborative or a single mission on my own, I just kind of found a cadence to finding these people and really, okay, this is what I want. I don't want to extend myself, or I don't want to go below that. I really just want to find the wheelhouse and kind of sticking to that, and it's been successful.
Well, I love it. And Chip, I remember actually watching you speak on this, and I love the answer that you had for this, was that you said if you want to get better at hiring, you've first got to get better at retention, right?
That's very important. You gotta keep the people you have. We've been fortunate. We have not lost anybody. I mean, we lost a couple through the pandemic because they wanted to retire earlier. The only place we lose people now is because like our industry, we're all older. And so once you get to that 65 number, you start saying, should I retire? And I've had several of them. I have one retiring at the end of the week. But what I'm finding out there is that if you're looking for people like HR, marketing people, admin, they're all looking for bigger paychecks than they got before. And the swing can be anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 a year. It amazes me because we have a form people fill out and they say, this is what I'm getting paid now, and this is what I want today, and it's a big swing. And an industry like ours, it's hard to make that swing, especially when you're used to paying less money. I mean, I just hired a manager that was let go of his previous job, and he said, I need to make this kind of money to move. And you either make that decision or you pass. And I think it's different in every area because I work 2 states. In Indiana, I have a lot of people in Indiana that we're hiring that are like startups. Hey, I need a career path. I'm 32 years old. I need a place to go and someone to give me a path to do something. And so if they have if they can have skills to work with their hands, we put them in service, because my service staff is, all over 50. And so you need some younger people in it. And so I've been fortunate in that arena, but it's hard out there, no doubt about it.
Well, what you're talking about with the salary increases, that's something I've heard talking to a lot of people, right? And they're saying that people coming out of school now, right? Like actually, coming out of school, getting jobs that are $100,000. And I'm like, blows my mind. It's like how many years I had to work to be able to get to $100,000 salary without coming out of school, right? So I've seen that and I've heard that from people, that sort of the benchmark that we need to rise to, to pay. It's like, how are we going to do that? And Mike Stramaglia, good to see you, brother. I love you too. And it's great. Mike's another member of the Top 100. He couldn't be here today either, but great to see you virtually joining us again today. Is anyone else experiencing that, like seeing a dramatic increase on what expectations are for pay?
Definitely. Yeah, one of the things that I think we can all agree on is that coming out of the pandemic, there was a lot of people that left our industry in sales, right, and moved on to other areas. So definitely, I think we're paying more for new salespeople when we bring them on board than we did, 2-3 years ago, right? And same for other employees. We had probably 4 roles that we needed to fill in the last quarter. The great news is we were able to fill them, but we definitely were filling them at the top of the bracket for that role when we brought them in. But it was nice to be able to get good people, and I think some people are people are moving, and spending the time to find the good ones is so key.
Hey, Wes,
one of the things you have to worry about that is that when you pay these people more money, you have to worry about your current staff. Are they in that same price range now?
Yeah.
You got
so if you got to sit there and say, if I'm going to pay this person $20,000 more, well, that's $10,000 more, and I'm paying someone who's been with me for 10 years. So you better give them a raise, or you're going to lose them as well. I mean, you have to look at it's not just hiring people today; it's looking at the whole picture of your company.
I think you said it well, Chip. You mentioned retention, right? And focusing on retention first, and making sure your people that are on board, they're doing a great job, or where they need to be.
So one model we've seen in the tech sector from a sales comp model is, let's say a guy or lady wants to make more than your the range that you want to pay, or they're within the range, is they'll take a portion of the comp model and they'll put that as a signing bonus. And that's an accountable draw conceptually until that person stays for 1 or 2 years. In most cases, they're signing 2 or 3 year deals. So conceptually, someone wants to make 100,000, it might be 10,000, 20,000. I know it sounds like moving shells, but there's something in that formula that's working for some tech people to sign people, but keep them around for a longer term so they can go through some of these longer, big enterprise cycles. Hey, Wes, as I mentioned, I got to jump to something far less important, but I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to join, and to all you guys, congrats. It's been great being on today. Thank you guys, and especially you, Dan Larkin.
Rick, I owe you one.
You owe me one.
And unlike a regular show, we'll see you again next week, same time every week. So really appreciate that. And
Wes, what Rob and Chip said about retention is huge, right? Because we've all grappled with paying outside recruiters, bringing recruiters in-house. The most effective new hires are the ones that show up and say, hey, I know Jane Doe, John Doe is at your company, and they seem like they're having a lot of fun, and that's why I applied, and you applied for this position. Yeah, I just want to get in the door, right? And some of those are the best testaments to have, right? So if the people under the umbrella are happy and content, you're going to attract other people.
I put this in bold letters, retain, right? So it is curious. I mean, one of the things that we are social animals, there's no question about it. And I tell this lesson to my kids all the time whenever they think they can do something on their own. Like, yeah, I don't need help. I can, do this on my own. I would say, well, you could, or you could work with people that you trust and gain from their experience and, make things a lot easier. And you listen to people that you trust, right? George Lucas does it in all his movies. Sorry, Carl, I got to throw that, that geek reference out there, right? He, who does he hire to do all his music? John Williams, until he's retired. Who's he hired to do his editing? It's always the same person, right? Because they're trusted quantities, and people will come work for them based on the words that they say, right? And, hats down, anyone says to me, oh, there's a position opening up with Tiger Paw, James Foxwell, I'll go, hell yeah. And they go, oh, well, they got a spot open. That's something I'm paying attention to, right? So, and any organization, but it's, I really appreciate that. Retain. I'm going to put it up there again because it's important. So if you're thinking about hiring, retain. That's great, Dan Larkin. I'm going to put this one more time just to, show the screen. So if you do want to have a look at the list, one really cool thing about the way that Tiger Paws put this list together is that when you go through it, any of the names in orange will take you right to LinkedIn. So I'll just give an example. So if we're in here and we look at our good friend Andy Slowetsky and I click on it, it actually opens up the LinkedIn profile. And as we're talking about people that you're stronger, by the people that you actually work with, reach out to the folks on this list. If you want to drive your career forward or get some new ideas, or you want to share some things, this group is hands down some of the best minds in the industry. And I don't apologize for saying that, right? That these folks are incredible. So visit tigerpaw.com. You can visit the blog or the full list there, but I think it's easier just to go to the blog and look up this list. There's 100 names, all the LinkedIn things that are there. And I'm curious, has anyone on the call here reached out and made any new connections from the list yet? Because if you haven't done that today, you better do it tomorrow. I found a few new ones for people that I didn't even know, which are on the list. I know. I forget how big this channel is that we work in, right? And then I'll meet somebody. Who's a good example? So Tammy Beach from HP is on the list, right? I'd never met Tammy before. And I've been in the industry as long as I think as anybody, 20 some odd years, right? And she'd never met me before. And it's not because she's new to the space, but we actually are in a pretty large, diverse channel. And I'm surprised sometimes, when I see the number of, people that I don't know. Anyone else? Yeah. Have you run into people in the last year?
Tammy came out of nowhere. I mean, she did Hawk and Edgeline, and I did both of those. And I never even ran into her. Right? MPS from the very beginning with HP. Yeah, so we had a nice little conversation.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think it's neat, right? That there are still so many people to meet and to network with. So make sure you get out there and do some of that. And it looks like we did have Joel come in with a comment. Said he agrees about employees serving as great recruiters, right? 80% of our most recent hires were referrals from newer employees. Well, that says it all right there, right? And of course, how we bonus our people for that too, Chip. I like you mentioned it at one of the first meetings I think it was at, and someone else brought it up, where you do give referral bonuses to employees, but not all at once, right? Where you kind of give them some when they're hired, and then some again if they stay for a year, kind of et cetera, right?
Correct. We give them one when they're hired, we give them one in 6 months, and we give them one in a year. It's more economical than hiring headhunters, even though we've had to hire headhunters lately as well to find people.
So there's a trend. So that's something you traditionally wouldn't have done, but because of the lack of talent, you've got to work with them.
Right. And I prefer to hire someone that's recommended by an employee because they're going to only recommend someone that's going to fit in and they're going to stick their neck out for. Otherwise, you end up with, well, why did you hire that person? Well, you recommended them.
Yeah.
So I've been fortunate in that respect of people recommending it. I mean, we have a great, I got about 88 people working for me, and we have a great core of people, and they like to keep it that way. They have fun together. I mean, I see them. I'm looking in my parking lot now. They're getting ready for a cookout we're having tonight, and we've won the best place to work in Illinois the last couple of years in a row. So it's been a fun time. Coming out of the pandemic, we're doing pretty good.
Other than that little pesky thing, eh? Well, that's great. Congrats on the awards, and that does tell people like it's got to be a great place to work. And I've known you for a lot of years, and certainly if I find anyone that's looking in the marketplace, would send them your way in a heartbeat. So join the conversation if you have any questions and comments. And in respect for people's time, I am actually going to move into another question, right? And as I did, I showed the list there a few minutes ago, and I'm wondering if anyone on this call, would have some advice for people that are new on the list, right? That haven't been here before. we do, as everyone knows, these are stack ranked, and we use a point system to be able to get people on and off the list. And sometimes that means people change, right? So for any of the new members that are on the list that have been that are in this year, what kind of advice would you give them? And maybe Rob, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I would just say get involved, and I think it's if you give back and give ideas, you'll get a lot out of it as well. And I think there's some core members that have been in most of the meetings, and man, it's been amazing getting to know people a little bit more, right? And I think everyone's getting value out of it for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. And so take that advice, folks. If you're on the list, we have these calls every week. I've sent an invite out to every person on the list that made it to join these weekly calls. So it's out there. And listen to Rob. Rob said so. And what about you, Carl? What do you think that the new members should do to get the most out of what we do?
I think that they should just come and they should flock and congregate with us and talk and provide the unvarnished truth as we all do on a weekly basis.
I appreciate that. So unvarnished truth, if you want to actually, use that in a private forum, and I remember that like some of the hardest conversations are the most direct conversations you've always had around the dinner table, right? With your family and friends. And certainly that's how that feels, right? When we get to have those conversations. So appreciate that. And Art Post, what about you? What advice would you give for the new members that are on the list this year?
Of course, like everyone else, try and, arrange a few minutes to come to, the meeting, see what it's like. But maybe, if you're not sure or, some people are shy, just get on and listen. And I think once you listen and you hear what's talked about, I think you'll feel more comfortable getting engaged with the group.
Well, I appreciate that. And what about you, Eric? Any advice for new members?
Never show up. I'm joking. Give somebody else a chance to get on the list. No, but it's no. I mean, get involved. I mean, that's the thing is we have fun, right? When we do this, we let our hair down. If you have hair, like Carl was talking about earlier, but no, but it's definitely get involved. Make some friends. Talk about things maybe you disagree with, but you're not going to get fired if you're in this group, right? We're not going to kick you off the list.
And Wes McCarter piped in too. He said, make the power hour as often as you can. And I would say Wes is, there almost every week, right? And Chip, any advice from you?
Well, as long as you got the title now, go out and help other people get that same title. I mean, when this all started, everybody thought MPS was dead, and we find that it's not. It's still out there. I mean, we all can use advice from our peers, and I think that's the best thing we can do is get together and help each other be successful. I mean, as you see lately, a lot of copier dealers are selling out.
Yeah.
And as they sell out, there's less and less of us. So we got to team up together and help each other be successful.
I love it as independents. And Dan, what about you? What advice would you have for folks that are new on the list?
Rob and Carl said it best. Just get involved, mix it up, throw ideas out there, and reach out offline. Make some connections and incorporate this into your week. It's not rocket science. It's another meeting on the calendar, and I know all of us have too many to begin with, but it's been helpful.
Well, I appreciate that. And Greg Walters, you get the final word on new members.
Well, let's see. I think get involved is probably the biggest thing, right? Attend, and whoever said just listen and lurk, that's the best thing to do if you're shy about it. But I think you'll get over that really quick, maybe the first 15 minutes of the first time you come on board. I like it because you can test your ideas, all right, throw it out here, and if it flies, it doesn't fly. But what I've noticed over the year, we're all out doing our own thing, and it either validates what we've been doing or what we've fought. For me, it has been. It's like I've got this crazy idea. Does it make sense? And then all of a sudden, someone will bring up an adjacent. We're all end up being mind share. And I think that value alone, because then when you're done with the meeting, it's like, okay, I'm not crazy, or I'm not as crazy as everyone says I am, because someone else felt the same way about almost a similar idea, especially over the last 24 months. But that isn't to say that the next 24 months aren't going to be even more chaotic. I'm still not planning 12 months in advance.
No.
You can't do it. I just don't know what's going to happen. So, the camaraderie, the getting together, the sharing of ideas, the validating your thoughts or invalidating, that's a crazy idea. And I guess it is crazy. Going through that whole thing is reassuring, and there's value in that a lot. Other than that, I get a bunch of content ideas and validate my ideas for stuff I like to write about and talk about.
Safe place, right?
Way. Yeah, that's to me, that's the biggest value, is coming in and thinking that I had this idea. I think that, A4 might be more popular, although I don't 2 weeks. And then we just did that in 15 minutes. Like, I'll be damned. Okay. Yeah. It does make sense.
Right.
And I think, Carl, you said it like, well, they don't need a big copier in their kitchen. So, yeah, you're right. They don't. So they still need it in the office or something. But anyway, that's the valuable is great. And I tell you what, if we got any new guys on, I would, if I were you, Wes, I'd hit the new ones up, especially say, listen, come on in, and then use a tag, something that one of us said, and this is what they said, and just come on in. It's no skin off anything. Just have an experience and see where you go with it.
Yeah, we've actually had more members accept this year than we had in the first year. So I think people kind of understand, what's going on, and I really appreciate that. And I'll say that, the one piece of advice that I'd give new people that are on the list is come with an open mind. Like, come into these groups. Like, there's a lot of smart people on these calls, and one thing I can say we've never been guilty of is somebody saying, no, this is how it is, right? Like, this group has been incredible.
I read about that.
Right? Like, the whole year, we've never had a heated session. We've had lots of great ideas, lots of great conversations, but man, this place has been just so invigorating. I get fired up every time I, get out of here. So it's a great group for listening and sharing, but, certainly there's nobody, telling anyone how it is. And that's incredible when you think of the caliber and the experience of this group, right? So come on in and be ready to collaborate and to listen.
It's the difference between knowledge and wisdom, and that goes right to the age. So it's not the age, it's the mileage, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. I love it. And geek, that's another good piece of advice for folks, is geek references are always welcome. Yeah. Dan Larkin. Well, we're running out of time, and in respect for people's time, we're running a little bit over, but I do want to say one other thing for everyone that's out there, right? That, this list, obviously there's only 100 people on it, and there's certainly a lot more influential people in the industry than 100 people, right? I get that. And I think everyone gets that. And I would encourage you to learn from what Tiger Paw has done with this group, right? If you want to form your own group, come up with your own way of getting thought leaders together and having these kind of conversations. That's what's great about this, that everyone out there that's been watching today, even if you're not on this list, can get together with thought leaders, form your own groups, make sure you're having these great conversations. And I can think of a few easy ways to do that. 1, you could join the MPSA. 2, you could join the BTA. 3, you could join the Copier Dealer Association. 4, you could join CompTIA, right? Like, there's so many ways for all of us to get together to share, and probably more importantly, act on great ideas. So I cannot thank everyone enough for, giving me an hour of their week every year. Chip, Greg, Dan, Eric, Art, Rob, Carl, Dennis, you'll get to experience this yourself. Mike Stramaglio, Wes McCarter. I know we saw Sarah in here earlier, right? I feel blessed to have been able to share an hour with you every week. And I want to thank Tiger Paw for giving us all that ability to be able to do that on a regular basis. So usually I'd say, goodbye, and hopefully we can all do this again. But we are going to do this again next week at 2 p.m. Central, same time, same group with some new members. And I can't thank you guys enough. All right, everybody.
Good job.
Wes, thank you.
Thank you, Wes.
Thanks, guys.
Nice job, Wes.
See ya.
See ya.
Thank you.